Welcome to Discovering. In the UP, the middle of February means dog sled racing. I was in Gwin for the Jackpine 30.
It's just a really great event. And what a great way to spend a day in the UP, huh?
And we'll take a look at the Deer Habitat Improvement Partnership Initiative. That's all tonight. Sit back and relax. It's Monday night and time for Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
On Friday night, the action is in Marquette with the start of the UP200 and Midnight Run. On Saturday, it's Gwin and the running of the Jackpine 30.
So the Jackpine 30 is the shortest of the three races that are run this weekend. And it gets its name by being about 30 miles long. Trail this year was a little challenging. In November, we had some early wet, heavy snow at the end of November, and early December caused tree limbs to come down over a lot of the trail. We've had a lot of trees to remove or limbs to get out of the way. So as a result, the trail was rerouted a little this year. It was 23 miles instead of between 25 and 30, which is where it normally is.
So I keep a really small kennel. We just have 10 dogs at home. We have 6 here to race.
We've run either Jackpine or Midnight Run every year since we started racing. We started racing in about 2007.
This is my third race ever, so I'm really excited for it. It's going to be a good time. I came in fourth in my last one, the Apostle Island, so hopefully that means good luck. And also it's my birthday, so hopefully that means more good luck for me.
I'm out of Newberry, Silver Creek Kennel. We have a very small kennel, 10 dogs. I'm racing 6 here today at the Jackpine. I think this is my third or fourth time running this race. I've done the UP200 in the past twice. I've done the Midnight Run a few times, and now with a smaller kennel, we run mainly 6 dog races. Stick pretty much in the UP. We'll be running the Copper Dog in 2 weeks to wrap up our session.
My dad has been doing it for about 26 years. So I was born into it, but I've been running for about 8 or 9 years now. And right now we have 27 dogs. So we've been breeding and raising litters for as long as I can remember.
Before the race, we do a pre-race vet check just to make sure that the dogs that are brought here for the race start in a healthy manner and take baseline parameters, heart rate, hydration status, and attitude, look for any injuries from previous races and note how they're healing or dealing with them. And then during the races, on the longer ones, we have checkpoints where we maintain our presence and continue to write down and document how the dogs are doing during the race. The Jackpine 30 is much shorter. It's only 23.5 miles, and they go out the chute and come back a couple of hours later. So we don't have a mandatory vet check afterwards, but we always go up and ask the mushers if there are any concerns that they have from the race. And on the longer races, we do that as well.
So the first team takes off at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then teams take off every 2 minutes thereafter in the number of their bibs, their race bibs. The trail starts at First Baptist Church in Gwynn and makes a large loop and comes back here. It runs up the Snowmobile Trail 8 for a while, this year all the way up to Sands Station, and then it veers kind of southwest through the plains and into the woods, turns south to a private seasonal road and out to a private property where we run a couple of loops out there, and then back into Trail 8 and back down to Gwynn to the First Baptist Church where the finish line is. We have the musher meeting and the award ceremony at that location as well.
We got a small kennel. We only own 16 dogs. That's counting house dogs and retirees. We usually start the year training up about 9 or 10 dogs, and so we'll either race 6 or 8 dogs depending on what we have available at the time. But it's nice having a small kennel and then coming out and competing with some of the big kennels. This one is mostly a smaller kennel race, but we got a couple of big kennels that come down and put a team in this one. It makes it fun, good competition.
This is my second time doing this race. I've never done this trail before, and I'm hoping it's kind of fast because I would like to finish a little quicker than I was anticipating.
The teams are 6 dog maximum, 4 dog minimum at the start. There's no dog drop on this race since it's the shortest. The teams make the entire race with their team. They are allowed to put a dog in a sled bag if need be. They come back with the same team they started with.
Today, I'm running mother-daughter in lead together. The mother, Siggy, 2 years ago, she broke her leg, freak accident in the kennel. It was a spiral fracture. She needed surgery and a pin in her leg. We've spent 2 years rehabbing her. She took last race season off, and she's pretty much made 100% recovery. The vet really didn't think she'd ever run as a sled dog again, but here, 2 years later, she's back running her first race since her injury. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that everything goes well.
Get out there, boy. Let's go, kid. Good boy, Get up.
One of the neat things about this race, it's the shortest of the 3 races, as I said before, but people run it for different reasons. So we get some newer mushers. Might be, in some cases, their first race or one of their first races. We also get some more seasoned mushers. Maybe they're coming from a larger kennel with a smaller second or third team with some young dogs that are learning how to mush and learning how to take directions from the mushers. So it's a neat race from that perspective. I like seeing the teams come back, some of the people who've come back year after year, and the new faces as well. We had 15 mushers this year, and they came from all over the place. We had several from Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, a couple from Ontario. So it's a good group. The race places are determined by the fastest time. So the first person to leave is not necessarily the winner. We subtract the start time from finish time to get the shortest overall time to determine the winner for the race.
I've always done the 6-dog races, and kind of the musher needs to be part of the team when you're running 6 dogs. We have to run up the hills and help them all we can, and I've been doing this since probably 2001. I think we came to the very second Jackpine ever, and we've come to most of them. So we come down here year after year. It's a fun event. It's good competition, but it's all of our friends, and we're looking forward to a good race. They do a nice job with the trail, and we hope we have a fast run.
I work for Nature's Kennel. It's a tour company. We do dog sled tours, and we race out of there too. We have a couple racers this year. I'm one of them. We got Laura Neese as our main one. She's out in the UP200 right now. And then Joe Gutowski, he's running the midnight run. So he should be finishing up here pretty soon. But we got like 230 dogs there, a whole bunch of them, plus another like, I don't know, 40 more at the race kennel. So we got almost 300 dogs. You know, some of them don't make the cut for race teams. I'd say probably like a third of them have all ran the Iditarod. It's a pretty good operation we got going on. Ed and Tasha Steelstra, they run a pretty good kennel. I think it's pretty cool. I like to say that these dogs are all super happy and healthy, which I think they are.
Home stretch, guys. Home stretch. Good job. Good job.
It's another thing you got to look for is just learning all the dogs' personalities. That's why we start in October as opposed to December and just hop on the dog sled, because it's really important to get to know your dogs just as much as they need to get to know you.
We get a lot of really good volunteers for this race, including people from the community helping with things like getting the trail ready, with road crossing volunteers to make sure the mushers get through different intersections safely as it crosses Southgate Road, for example, or goes up to Sand Station to make sure they make the turn and don't go across the railroad tracks. We wouldn't be able to run any of these races without all of the volunteers. I think someone told me between all 3 races, it probably takes 600 to 700 volunteers to run all of the races. So it's important to have all of those people. We get a really good group out here the last few years. We've also had help from the Northern Michigan University Pre-Vet Club, and they've helped with everything from collecting vet records to release forms, helping with the dog checks before the race, bag checks and things like that.
It's a great race. Love this race. It's a nice, quick one-day, fast trail usually, and the people running it are just fantastic. You know, the mushers We're competing, but it's also a lot of fun. The church's now sponsoring it. It's just a really great event. And what a great way to spend a day in the UP, huh?
"2020 marks the 12th year for the Deer Habitat Improvement Partnership Initiative, which is a grant program offered by the DNR's Wildlife Division. I talked with the Grant Initiative Administrator, Bill Scullin.
The Deer Habitat Improvement Partnership Initiative is a grant program Wildlife Division within the DNR has, where we try and find opportunities to partner with sportsmen's organizations across the Upper Peninsula to do deer habitat improvement partnership projects on the ground. So what we're looking to do is try and accomplish projects that help summer range and winter range habitat all across the Upper Peninsula. And we work with conservation clubs, we work with conservation districts, we work with any organization that has a conservation mission, a formal conservation mission. It's designed to focus on lands that are not state owned. So this grant would be eligible on private individual ownership, qualified forest enrolled lands, Commercial Forest Act enrolled lands, federal forest lands, but not state-owned lands. So, and even school forests are eligible for these kind of projects to take place. And we have an overall budget of $100,000. And unfortunately, because there's a limited budget and the way the program is structured, it doesn't go out to individual small grants to just private landowners to get, here's $2,000 to go put a food plot in. We can't do that. So the way it's designed is to create an opportunity for us to partner with larger groups. And the thought process behind that is as we do a project, there's an educational component that's involved. So you're working with many more people on the ground. So your reach the scope of the project is bigger. And there's a match that's required. There's a 25% match that the sponsor group has to put up. And that can be through in-kind, through their labor, or an actual cash match. But by doing that, you're effectively multiplying the reach of the grant monies themselves. This is the 12th year we've run this grant program. So we've run it for a long time. It was one of the first of the grant programs designed to do deer habitat or wildlife habitat in the state of Michigan. And other ones have been modeled after it since. So it's been a very successful program. We've had, I think to date, we've spent over $850,000 in the Upper Peninsula through this grant program. We've had over $500,000 in match throughout those 12 years. We've done over 93 different projects in almost every county of the Upper Peninsula. So it's been a very successful project. We work with lots of partners. These days we get projects that run from major underplantings of white pine and hemlock or something like that in a deer yard, for instance, to projects where they do restoration of old openings on private lands, old farm field restorations in spring breakout areas next to deer yards, scarification to regenerate conifers in areas where the conifer has been lacking in deer wintering complexes, oak tree plantings. When it was first started, it was to create opportunities for us to really segue onto private lands where we've traditionally not had a whole lot of reach from a DNR wildlife standpoint in the Upper Peninsula. And it was also designed for us to create partnerships, real true partnerships with clubs that we may not have normally partnered with. And through those clubs, individuals that we may not have actually had much interaction with. So it's been real positive in that sense, and I think you talk to many of the participants over the years past, they've been very pleased with not only the outcome of their projects themselves, but also the fact that they now have relationship with us, and there's dialogue on other issues and things of that nature. So it's been very valuable in that respect. Right now, we're in the application period. It's a relatively simple project to apply for. Those have to be date stamped by March 6th and back to me here at the Norway office. There's a selection committee that reviews those. There's a multidisciplinary selection committee that looks at those. So we have foresters and we have private lands folks and we have our biologists to look at them. And they're scored. There's looking at different factors. First of all is to make sure that they can actually accomplish this factor. How efficient is it? And then we also look at, one of the things we don't score on, we don't require, is public access. But we do look at the proximity to public lands. These are sports persons' dollars that are being expended as effectively and efficiently as possible, and recognizing that there's some consideration towards public access or how close you are to public lands is really important. And by April 1st, we'll notify all the applicants whether they're successful or not. And that's one of the things we encourage all throughout the entire process is they have dialogue with us as they're starting to think about ideas and start crafting their ideas to make sure it is something that fits within what we're trying to accomplish and what they can do.
For more information about the grant or to apply, go to 906outdoors.com, then Discovering, and click on Grant Application. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week right here on Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.